Girl, you the best, and she love me when I'm in it, and she never be pretending, nothing that's friend. She gon' tell you what she bought it, cause she know you can't afford it. Know you can get it, looking exquisite, no competition.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Eastbound. I'm your host, Camille Cower. And if you could just bear with me, Hope is, for some reason, it's not showing her on my side. So I'm just going to pull up her website so you guys can kind of see what we're going to be talking about today, about her awesome, awesome, awesome company. So just bear with me. Oops. Never mind. All right, as soon as I was trying to click her in, something else worked. Yay! Hello, Hope. How are you?
Hello there. How are
It's
you?
so good to see
Good to
you.
see you too, my love.
Well, welcome, welcome, welcome to the eSpot. And I can't wait for everybody to learn more about you and everything that you're doing, especially with HauteTrader. And now you're doing this whole blood fashion challenge. So let's start from the beginning. Like, how did you get involved in fashion?
You know, I don't think I was ever not involved in fashion, to be honest with you.
Right.
I'm one of those people, when I was little, when I was in school, I was sketching, I was drawing. I knew what I was going to do with the rest of my life at the age of 7 years old.
Okay. Okay.
So at that juncture in my life, teachers were just kind of a little bit of a nuisance for me. It's like,
I can relate.
you're getting in the way of the big picture, lady.
You're standing between me and my goal. So when you were in school, what were you originally wanted to do? Was it always be a designer or
Always,
okay.
always. Yep, always.
Okay. Now, being a Black woman and getting into fashion, it's not, you don't see many people doing it, but you've made it to, I mean, Oscar de la Renta. So
Aw.
please tell us, how did you make it to that point? Like to even be in the room, to be a designer, how did that happen?
Probably a sense of um, non-complacency, as well as a lack of satisfaction. I'm never satisfied. I'll keep my steak. Okay. I'm not the girl that's sending everything back.
Right, right.
But when it comes to my inner voice and my intrinsic expressions in life, I'm never satisfied. So I went to get my BA in Atlanta, and when I finished there, I saw my
Wait, wait, wait,
peers.
wait. You
Oh,
can't just say in Atlanta. It was Fashion Institute of Technology
well,
in
no, I went
Atlanta.
to
Oh,
FIT
sorry.
here, but I graduated.
Duh, New York City. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got my BA in Atlanta. I went to Spelman.
Oh, that's
So
right. Okay.
yeah, so when I finished there, I was like everyone else in my class. We're gonna work at Macy's, and it was very limiting. I don't want to speak ill of HBCUs or whatnot, but I knew that the industry was not in Atlanta, and I think that sense of not being satisfied made me say to myself, okay, if I want to compete amongst the best, I need to be where the best circulate and live and matriculate. So I decided to move. I moved here, and once I moved here, I began working. I started at this designer, Jill Stuart, and I started an internship there. And while there, I recognized I cannot really compete with these people. I need to,
Oh no.
I need to know what they know.
Yeah.
And the competitive nature of, my personality said, okay, look, I know you're finished with school, but it might be time to go back.
Right.
And so I went back and went to FIT, which is amazing. I love FIT more than anything on this earth. And from there, that's when I really began applying to the companies that I really wanted to work with. And I knew, and I was confident that I had the skills to work with those companies.
Okay. Now, when you first were at Fashion Institute, what was it like there? Like just to go from Spelman, getting your bachelor's, and now you're like in your element with the best of the best, working together, collaborating, making those networks, making that connections to like propel your fashion career to where it is now. Like, how did you feel being like, okay, I'm in my purpose, I'm learning my best? Like, what was that like for you? Were you accepted there or?
I Not only was I accepted, I loved it. Like I said, it's, you to my deathbed, you will not get me to say a negative word about FIT. I
Yeah,
really, it's the number one fashion school in the world for a very
it's amazing.
particular reason.
Mhm.
I still have very close relationships with my professors. And it may be because I was older when I went there that I really came and, I was so focused. It wasn't please my parents, it wasn't please society. I was there with a very clear, focused vision as to what I was to do there, what I was going to get from being there, and how I was going to get it. So I really made the best of my experience there. And I even, it's times every blue moon when I don't know something, if I can't teach it to myself, I'm like, I should take a class at FIT. I'm like, I don't have time to do that, but I love it that much. My experience was absolutely fantastic. And like I said, being a bit older had a lot to do with it. The social atmosphere, I didn't see anyone else there. If they weren't going to, if we weren't working on a project together, or maybe creating alliances for whatever other reason, I was laser focused on the bean.
Okay. Was there any advice that you got from FAT that you feel would be good to share with others that may be interested in starting in fashion or just in general? Any advice you would give to someone who wants to get started? Like what steps you would suggest they start from or?
I'd say drop the entitlement. I say have a, be realistic with yourself as to what fashion is, and recognize that fashion is a billion-dollar industry, and it is an industry that requires hard work. It's not just being fabulous and because you love fashion. That's
Yeah.
not enough. That
Right,
can't be
right.
enough. One of the reasons that FIT has actually such a strict criteria for admission is for that very reason. They recognize that, it's kind of the go-to for the entitled set sometimes. I love fashion. My parents buy me fashion. I want to be a fashion designer. But little do they recognize how difficult the work is going to be. Little do they recognize, during Fashion Week, when you see these fabulous shows, this team has been up, literally, if the show's at 1 p.m., they may have went to sleep at 6 a.m. that morning, if not later than that. There's a lot that goes into it. It's extraordinarily competitive, especially in the environment now. Starting a clothing line is uber difficult. There are so many hurdles that you have to be aware of. And more than anything, if I could really surmise it, it's a willingness to work harder than your counterpart. Don't expect anything. Do more than what is expected of you.
Okay. Now, once you left school, how did you go about getting your first job in fashion? Like what was that like? Did they come to the school and recruit or did you just go out, beat the pavement and
Could
made your own way through?
beat that pavement, and that's
Yeah.
why I live in New York. It's beating the pavement, but the pavement's only a few blocks away.
Right, right.
So get that, get that resume out, and have a good resume. I did a lot of internships.
Okay.
I didn't complain either. I did a lot of internships. Um, look, I was about to complain, but I was
A
like,
lot
this
of
is really like, yeah.
underpaid
I was going to say,
internships.
well, do a lot of internships. Know what the type of label that works best for you. Um, yeah, it was, just there she goes.
It happens.
Okay, let's see.
I love that we're getting a view of your studio though, with all the beautiful bags. Oh my gosh. Every girl's dream. It's funny. Every single person I've had this week has had either a clothing rack behind them or just like closet goals behind them.
Oh,
Like you
that's so
guys
funny.
stay on brand, my fashion people. I would just
Yeah, you
put that
just
out there.
it's a part of it.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Now I have a question for you. What does fashion mean to you?
Expression.
Mhm.
Expression. It's a way to express who you are. And I also say emotion. I'll get a little personal. That when the initial years of working on HauteTrader weren't glamorous at
Mhm.
all. I literally sat in my apartment for 3 straight years in development. Interns here, people coming and going, things falling apart constantly,
Mhm.
constantly, constant iterations of what we are creating and learning about it. And during that period, I lost myself. Instead of being myself, I subscribed to the two guys in the garage Apple story, and I didn't think that I was in a mental space where I didn't think I was deserving of these things because everything should be sacrificed for my business. Everything,
Mhm.
relationships, proper anything,
Right.
nothing was more important than my business.
Mm.
And I went into a depression. I went into a depression. I was still persevering, still pursuing, but I was totally depressed at the same time. And I noticed that once we kind of got over the hurdle, got to the other side of owning this business, I began getting back into myself. You know, um, Dressing. We had all these clothes, but I didn't care. I would wear the same thing every day. That's what Steve Jobs does. But
Yeah.
this is
Right. You got to invest in your business, right? Not in your
this is
wardrobe
all
or
I
your
cared
closet.
about.
Yeah, I get that.
Um, but I noticed when I began coming to the other side, the more social aspect of starting my business, and I began taking care of myself again, basically,
Hmm.
that feeling beautiful was not just physical, it was very much emotional for me. And I recognize I've been this girl into makeup and clothes and hair and all of these things my entire life. It's intrinsically built into who I am as a person. And it wasn't until that period that I really recognized that. And fashion makes me happy. Feeling pretty makes me happy. My personal perception of pretty being that makes me happy. And this life is short,
Right.
you know. Why not do whatever it takes to make yourself feel good? If it's a fabulous couture gown, or if it's a bath with amazing mineral herbs from Mumbai, whatever it is that makes you feel good, immerse and do what you need to do to be able to immerse in those things, because this is an aspect of life.
Yeah.
So fashion definitely, I really recognize that um, during that period. you know, so it's not been that long ago.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, you know, it took a while to get to that point.
Now, what do you think was that transition from you from the depression and just getting really just starting to believe in yourself and dreaming bigger? Because I mean, to come up with to make your own app, to make your own software. I mean, you had to have some type of confidence in yourself to learn how to do that yourself, to be able to do that yourself, to go from fashion to technology and to use both sides of your brains. Like, I'm thoroughly impressed. As someone that's just recently trying to learn all this tech stuff to be able to do my show, like, it's not the easiest and it doesn't always want to work the same way. Even if you do the exact same thing, it's like, no, today the algorithm changed, so
The algorithm
your
changed.
guest can't come on
Yeah,
right
it
away.
always changes.
It's constantly changing. So, like, what do you think? Was it? I mean, did you go to therapy? Did you just start just recognizing what depression was for yourself and just started finding ways to fix it? Like, what did you do? Because I feel like so many people right now may not realize they have depression or maybe are going through a temporary depression because of coronavirus or because of all the police
Yeah.
violence and trauma that we're seeing on TV and or experiencing. How did, like, do you mind sharing how you were able to get past that?
I think awareness of
Mhm.
what I was actually going through,
Okay.
um, uh, walking outside of my body, really looking at myself, um, and more than anything, mindfulness and awareness, you know, of the narrative that I'm literally subscribing to and convincing myself of, you know, because a big part of some depressions, I can't speak for everyone, you know, some people are more chemically depressed and it's, you know, they have no control over it. But for me, it was more about the narrative. You know, I was completely my own worst enemy at a time when I needed a best friend, you know.
Mhm.
And on a daily basis, I let that uh, control my self talk and everything that I do. So there was never a good enough. I'm still that way, but it's okay now. Whereas before, you know, I failed, I'm a, you know, idiot, and I would compare myself to the incomparable. You know, this company has 20 million in the bank and I have, you know, 11 grand
Yeah.
and I owe 12,000, you know. I owe
Yeah.
this person 12 grand. Um so like more than anything, it was staying mindful of the narrative that I speak to myself on a daily
Mhm.
basis, and instead of being my own worst enemy, being my best friend, and recognizing
Great.
that I have an ally in me, you know, and in Jesus, you know, but but
Right.
it, you know, in me, and really truly believing that, and believing that it's okay if you make mistakes. That's a part of growing and becoming better, um, and not, you know, um, not comparing myself to others. You know, I feel like that is the root of a lot of depression, is
I would.
constant comparison. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not this enough, and da 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 da. And the next person saying, I'm not brown enough. I'm not tall enough. You know,
Mhm.
everything that I should be happy about, or, you know, or I haven't achieved this, or I haven't achieved that. Who are you comparing yourself to?
Right. Right.
Constantly, you know, and if you don't take heed of this and recognize it for what it is, you'll never stop it. And it will take complete control of you. You know, your brain is, you know, it's not a ligament to the extent of your legs or your arms, but you can control it. And a lot of people seem to forget that. If you don't control your mind, it will ramble and ramble and ramble and ramble. And there are so many constructs that make the facets of the brain that um, if you don't have control, like I said, it will completely take over you. So it's like you look at your arm. If I don't want my arm to go up, I make my arm go down. Your brain works the same way. So okay, here my brain. I'm not focused. I'm not being mindful of my presence, and my brain is rambling. And many people don't understand that you can just stop it
Yeah.
and be present. And just
That's
be
my
present in the
problem.
moment.
That's my thing with procrastinating sometimes. Like, get up, why aren't you getting up? And then finally getting up. But it's the same thing when I'm like, oh, I wish I had this. Just go, like, start focusing on something you do have. Like, stop worrying
Yeah.
about that. Or like, winter weather really bothered me here because I was just like, I can't go anywhere. It's rainy, it's cold. And I would even like think I was having not necessarily depression, but just the mood change of just that, and just realizing I could control it more.
You
I
can
think that's
control
great.
it.
Like, this changing the narrative within your head. And also being that we both work in fashion, it's something where you're always being judged based on your appearance, what you're wearing, how you dress, whether, like you were saying, thin enough, tall enough, dark enough, whatever. It's real easy to get caught up in all of that instead of realizing that's just for that job. You're not
That's
and that's
that.
not meant
Yeah.
for me. Or
And that's okay. And that's okay.
and
And accepting that is okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, speaking of okay, because this is way more than okay. Your company, I'm gonna actually I'm gonna do it so I can actually show. Well,
Please.
I feel like
Yay.
we'll go back to your designer, but I want to make sure that we talk about this because I have it up there, and I just want to
Sure.
show everybody what we're talking about too, so they
Sure.
know what it is that you do, because it's so fascinating that
Thank you.
I'm like sold. All right, so I'm gonna.
Yay. There she is. Oh. Is customer support? Is she there? Okay. I'm like checking on my team. Like, is the customer support? Is she there?
This is the gorgeous Prada dress that you never wear. So you listed on HauteTrader and traded to Susie for her blue Dior blouse. And now you're both lavished with our currency owed points as a reward for completing your trade. You can spend your Haute points to buy another fashion item. The Dolce & Gabbana pumps? They're yours. Browse our curated selection to your heart's content. You can make trades using a fashion item for a fashion item, 2 fashion items for a fashion item, or simply pay with Haute points alone. Outside of our minimal $25 trade fee, which includes shipping and handling, your cash is never needed, darling. Trade and continuously evolve your designer wardrobe with us. HauteTrader, the premier destination for designer fashion trading.
I don't know what happened. For a minute, she was there and then it disappeared. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you a little bit about the website too, like how it works and so on. You can see here. Up and there's the pop-up. Up there. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was like, uh-oh, did I push a button by accident? All right, so I'm going to switch where you're in.
Okay. Gosh, I'm terrible with the. Okay, there we are. Okay. Here's HT. Yay. Camille, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. I'm here talking, thinking you can hear
Oh,
me.
no, I can.
Lesson learned. I was like,
Being
wait,
subtle.
maybe
I
she
was
can't
being,
hear me. Okay,
yeah,
so I'm going to do audio only.
okay. can I connect this to my screen, or is it only an app?
Yeah, you could use your computer for it.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
thank God. You
Oh
know,
yeah, sorry.
this is so embarrassing. I honestly, okay, I hate the phone app. I think
Yeah.
it makes my nose look big. Let's see.
No worries. Look, I'll
It
show.
does. I
Yeah.
swear. It does something. Okay, there we are. Let's see if we can on the screen. Okay. Oh, you can continue while I see if I can fix this a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't this reminds me there was an episode the Saturday Night Live at Home. And there was a person who did not understand what it meant to video chat. They're like, can everyone can you see me? Am I on this? Am I on the screen?
You're like, oh my gosh, there's been some embarrassing ones. Some of the, yeah, we'll
It's
talk off air about one of them. But of course, everybody's seen the one where the girl went to the bathroom and didn't know she was still on video. Have you seen that one?
It was Saturday Night Live.
No. This was a real Zoom. Like,
Oh
just
gosh.
yeah, she thought
No.
she had turned her video off and went to the bathroom, and all of her coworkers were right there with her.
Oh, that is that.
Yeah, she had only muted it, I think. I can't remember if
I'm
there was
surprised there are not more experiences like that documented.
right.
Okay, so I can hear you, so we
Okay.
can go through.
Okay,
I
perfect.
digress.
All right, I'll move myself out again.
Okay.
And then make you a little bit smaller. Oops. There we go. So we can show how HauteTrader works and what made you come up with it as well.
Sure. I was the day I actually decided I would make an app. I was actually going to FIT. It's funny, we mentioned my love for FIT and my desire now on occasion to take classes there. I actually, after graduating, I had taken a class actually with my favorite professor, Professor Uvinio, fabulous. I was taking a class with him, and I was walking across the street, and I was like, I remember this day like it was yesterday. I looked over into the FIT museum, and I just thought to myself, why isn't there a marketplace for people to trade? I understand, there were marketplaces for consignment. It wasn't that prominent at that time. But I just thought, why isn't there a marketplace for people to just trade? And in the creation of HauteTrader, I recognize why there is not a marketplace.
Oh no, why? Were there so many challenges with it?
It was many challenges.
Okay.
But that was the beauty of the development period, is figuring out solutions for all of those challenges. I love that development period more than anything. And one of those problems would be safety. How can you feel comfortable shipping your item, across the country to someone that you don't know, and this be actually a safe thing to do?
Right.
What's in place for that to happen? And also the second would be value. If these are designer items and you're trading something, how do you assess the value of it? It's like if you can trade, you're not going to trade a Porsche for a pencil,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, those boots.
But once you, whose closet
I got
was that?
distracted.
Oh, it's okay.
People with all these small feet.
So that went into a feature where we had to. I'm the person on Saturday Night Live again. But that for each hurdle, it's allowed me to conceive a solution for that hurdle. And I love problem solving. It's by nature, you know, like you, we're both the only child.
Yeah.
So you're you have this independent streak. It's always, always been that way.
Right. I can figure
So,
it out.
one of the problems is, how do you feel comfortable, shipping a designer item across the country to someone that you don't know? And how do you know the value of the items that you're trading? So from there, from the first hurdle of how do you feel safe, I began conceiving our currency. And with having a currency for our trading community, it allows us to compensate our members if something does happen,
Okay.
Also shipping on site, we track everything from start to finish. Then the next hurdle, how do you value? Then we came up, I can see the tier system. And, upon assessment, I recognize that, fashion it can be fickle. So the values of an item constantly change, especially in the pre-owned market. But what doesn't change is or it changes much slowly, is the perception of a designer item. So, you take Diamond Furstenberg. There's a perceived value of Diamond Furstenberg. She's put years of research and work into giving her name value. Same with like Gucci. Same with like Chanel. So these things we don't have to concern ourselves with. You know, this is Chanel's a tier 4. Why? Because Chanel has worked to be a tier 4 designer.
Right.
DVF is a tier 1 because she is a contemporary designer, which we all respect, but she hasn't outpriced herself to the extent that many women can't afford it, but she's still not mass market. So it only needed to be 4 tiers, So we eliminated that haggle stuff that you see on a lot of marketplaces. It's our marketplace is for women who love fashion, and this is something that I'm constantly working on. I want women who love fashion to use our marketplace. I'm not in business to, it's great if you want to go to my competitor websites and pay your rent by selling items online. That's fine. But that's not what HauteTrader's for. HauteTrader's for the woman who wants to have fun with her wardrobe.
Yeah. It makes me think of because we both are only children. If we had sisters, we could switch clothes with. That kind of thing. Like we didn't get to have that opportunity, or even having like the older sister's closet to rummage through. I had my
We just
mom's
have
closet, but that was
weekly new
it.
best friends.
Yeah,
I'm out of
exactly.
that phase in life, but when I was little, I had a best friend by the week. Now I'm like, we're friends,
It's like I have best friends, sisters, brother. Like there's people you're just beyond a title almost, like, and then there's like, yeah, I get it. So I just love how you did this as well, with where you can, if you like somebody's closet, you can follow them, or so you can see. So whenever they post anything new, you're like, oh, I know she's my size. I know we have similar styles.
Twins. That's
Yeah, style twins. Like so thoughtful. All the different ways you do this, and until I saw the site, there's like some designer clothes I'm like, I'll never part with this being one of them. This is actually what I wore to my wedding, but we eloped. So it's a diamond Furstenberg, like you mentioned. But there's other dresses where I'm like, I'm never going to wear this again. Oh, no.
Oh, I'm here.
See, iPhone doesn't want to be, doesn't want to let you be
It's
great.
like this little sticky thing I have.
It's like, what do you mean you won't give it up? Well, maybe. But there's like some dresses I'm like, I probably won't ever wear again. And this gives you that option to kind of give somebody else new life, but you get something out of it as well.
Right. And that's the beauty of the currency. And that's, it's the problem with being new is intrinsic human inertia. We don't like new. When you're creating something that's new, you're like, everyone's going to see this and they're going to be so excited it's new, and it gives them so much value.
Right.
But people don't necessarily like new. Even adventurous people don't like what they don't understand.
Right.
But that's okay, because that allows us to kind of always cultivate. But the beauty is, not only are you constantly having fun and expanding and changing your, not only are you constantly switching up your wardrobe, you're also expanding your wardrobe,
Yeah.
So that goes into the currency model too. It's very much for women who love fashion, because it gives them the opportunity to have fun with their wardrobe, but not just have fun with their wardrobe, also expand their personal wardrobe. And I'm very proud of that, because it's a very circular system, and it works, and it works, and it's, but that goes into, it being for the right woman.
And I think would have been some of the, I guess, challenges that you've had as far as people being a little bit nervous about getting involved, even when, I guess, when you tell a friend or something that you were interested in doing this. How did you, what were some of those? Because when I first thought of this, I was like, oh, but how do you know there's not going to be cuts or tears, or that it's at the same quality, or it might smell like smoke, or different things of that nature?
The internet is, the internet can be a very socialist place. We know everything about you.
Right. Right. Google
and
or sell
more
it.
so by the year, for each year, we are putting it all out there. In some cases bad, in some cases very good. In our case, very, very, very good. And the site is built around that social accountability.
Okay.
We use, we don't use usernames. It's your real name sitting on that website.
Right.
And
Right.
it's okay if you list a closet and expect that you'll be able to ship without using your real name. Guess what, darling?
Yeah.
Checkout time, we're asking you again. So all of these features come into place, and they culminate into a protective bubble in that sense. From phone verification to real name to not shipping to different addresses, making sure your credit card and your billing address match up. You can't get to checkout and instantly change a bunch of things, because we recognize you're trading. In addition, we require, when that item comes to you, and this is something we pay for and it comes out of your trade fee, we require shipment signature for each item. So girls, use it, because I pay an extra $2 for that. Um,
Nice. No, that's fantastic. Now, from following you on Instagram, I noticed that you were very vocal about um, the looting, as far as that being a way for people to, some of your competitor websites, that's a way that they could make money, or like eBay or something, and sell that. And you started this hashtag, the Blood Fashion
love
Challenge. Can you share
fashion.
more about that, just for those of us who may not know how the inner workings of that goes?
Absolutely, absolutely. For me, looting represented distraction. There are different theories on looting. Some are that it's a systematic equalizer. You know, um, and to each their own. Uh, Yet, if that's the case, who's profiting off of that? And it's not just the looters; it's also the competitor marketplaces. And because they're so prominent now, what's the first thing that these people are going to do with those items? So the Blood Fashion Challenge was a call to these marketplaces to say, are you more than just a Black Lives paragraph on your Instagram? Are you more than just posting a few Black faces and firing that racist woman that's worked with you for the last 10 years that you never had a problem with? What is your real stance? And a real stance is some level of loss. You know, if you really want to show equality, then in that equality, you're fine with accepting the loss of these, you know, this merchandise, you know, the violence and destruction of the protests and the looting. It was a distraction from a bigger cause. And I think more than anything, that's why I wanted to take a stand against it, because for those that are looking for the perfect excuse, or you know, the catalyst as to why Black people are, you know, degenerates or ridiculous, or you know, or thugs, that's the evidence that they needed, and they enjoyed having that, and they enjoyed exploiting that, and it really, you know, it posed a major problem for me. One, that distraction, and two, the call to the marketplaces to you know, to say, put your money where your mouth is. If you really care, you know, about this Black Lives Matter movement, and you know, and making this not just a moment, but rather a movement, then you would take that stance to say, you know, we denounce, you know, what these people have done, and we don't want this merchandise on our marketplace, and we're ready to take whatever measures possible to avoid having these pieces listed with us.
Now, how can consumers protect themselves from possibly buying looting items that were from
You
looting?
know,
How
it
would you
goes,
really know?
well, it goes into the marketplace. You know, that's where the marketplace, comes into play. This, you know, it's pretty much compensatory to authenticating an item. So there's a, you know, there's record from these stores,
Okay.
from these retailers of what they lost. One, and that there's a company called Leeds, and they work with I believe eBay and the Real. I don't know. I know for sure those two. I can't speak for some of the others, but there are also algorithms that can easily trace, you know, data, behavior-based data of what these people are doing. And like I you know, previously said, the internet anonymity that you know, we're accustomed to in maybe the early 2000s, it's, you know, that no longer exists. You
Yeah, good
know,
point. Now,
right?
since you mentioned about authenticating, that's something you also do with your
Yes,
website too, just to make sure that items really are what they say they are, so you don't end up worrying about.
absolutely.
Because I think even with like Alibaba, I think that's right, Alibaba. I'm bad with names. I think it's Alibaba or
Uh,
AliExpress, not
uh,
Alibaba.
uh,
AliExpress, where a lot of people will sell fake items there and so on. So it's one of
I
the things
hate
also that
fakes.
when you're trading amongst like an app like yours or your website, how would they ever know? But
Of
you have a
course.
process, of course, right?
Yeah, we do. Premium item trading.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually one of the early features, you know.
Okay.
And that goes back into the beauty of having the tier allocation system. So for those tier 4 items, i.e., Chanel, Gucci, Balenciaga, everyone that's expected to be tier 4, we know who our tier 4 bags are coming from. You have the option of adding premium trading protection. So as opposed to those items going directly user to user, like the lower tier items, premium items actually come to headquarters where those trades are facilitated first before they go to each user.
Okay.
And you know, we're strict about it. If that item comes to us and it's not authentic, and it's funny, we only have a few bad reviews, but I know everyone who's ever written an, you know, bad review. And one of those was a woman who we kicked off the site immediately after, you know, she traded a fraudulent item,
Mm.
because, you know, especially for trading, that's a risk that cannot be taken. Are you kidding me? Could you imagine your real item for, you know, I'm a fashion girl, so, you know, for the right consumer, I really truly understand my customers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is such a no-no, like literally, I'm at your door like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, so for those trades, instead of going user to user, they come to headquarters and they're inspected and totally authenticated. And the expectation is that they are just as beautiful in our presence as they are on the website.
And you also have an option where they could just buy directly as well if they
No,
don't want to trade, or
no,
no, only
no,
trading.
we don't.
Oh,
Nope,
okay.
no, we don't. And the reason why that goes back into the target demo of our customer and your goal for using the site. What is your goal? Your goal is expanding your wardrobe. So that's just not an option. It's like I don't go to a muffin shop and, ask if I can buy socks. That's not what we sell.
Okay.
We're for women who love fashion and want to expand their wardrobe. And that's the beauty of being self-funded.
Mhm.
It's a lot of not beauty, but the one beautiful aspect of that is, the cultivation of our business model, of our goals, and following through on those goals and the reason why they exist. So for the girl who wants to have fun with her have fun with, her wardrobe and expand her closet, she can trade. And we really don't need, you know, need the need to sell items is not there solely because you're instantly rewarded just for trading. So our currency can be used like cash. It is, it's our cash.
Nice.
So, yeah, so you trade and you get rewarded with our currency. Use our currency to get whatever you want on the site. So it really is about engagement and participation. The more you engage, the more you can use your currency to get whatever you want.
Yeah, you can bank it up for tier 4.
Right.
Start
The
off
more,
just getting all your tier 1, sending that in.
yeah,
You're like, I can almost
yeah.
get my tier 4.
And you know what?
Yeah.
That I love to see our members who who are accumulating and banking up to those higher tier items.
Absolutely. Now, I have to talk to you about your designing career because you
Sure,
worked for Oscar de la Renta.
sure. Should I get one of my books for you? You
Oh my
want to see one
gosh,
of my books?
yes. Absolutely.
Hold on, let me see. Let me make sure. Did I put on pants? Okay, hold on.
These are important questions. No, I
Okay.
get it because it's even if I stood up, you would see my pajama pants underneath my dress.
No! Let me see. I'm so excited to show you.
Oh, I can't wait to see it because I'm curious if I recognize your work when you bring it up. But so Hope was a designer for Oscar de la Renta, and as you mentioned before, Jill Stuart. So now we get to see her book. For all those who are much like myself, fashion addicts. I mean, but honestly, can't you just look at her purse closet and just like, I want that one, I want that one. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And you can see even because I talked to her about this before. She also does like if somebody were to send in a bag and it's not completely perfect because she is a perfectionist, she will fix it. And she's I forget what level skill, but she's got the certifications or something that she can work on certain bags and so on to kind of fix it. And which I was like, where have you been all my life? But I love some of the quotes that are on your website as well. One of them was like, dress like you're already famous or something.
Zimmerman, everyone. It's going to be listed soon.
Oh, what? Say that again?
Oh, no, I was showing my romper. I'm excited to have on shorts.
Yes, weather is really nice enough for it. It's so cute. Like they were like, we need a purse tour. Because while you were gone, I was like, let's go ahead and look at the purses. I can see a Chanel from here, but
let's see.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh, I had to literally. I grabbed the closest book to me.
Okay.
Because I would have to go through everything. Here's some.
Oh wow.
Let's see.
Now, what was your process of coming up with designs? Like, would it just come to you in dreams, or you knew ahead of time what their theme was, and you would have to work in that?
It's. I wish it could be that amazing, but it's. I'd say very similar to writing. You come up with. I wish I should have grabbed my sketchbook, but before you create your model sketch, you're literally with your flats, just you take one idea and expand on that idea. It's like a process of constant extrapolation of one idea. So it may be a feather, a, a, a feather placed on a princess line, you know. So design one is the feather small, design two the feathers medium, design three the feathers large. Then the feather changes color, and then the feather has multicolors. And you literally take this one concept, and you come up with multi variations of this one particular thing. And then uh, in this world, we have to look at cost. So that comes into play as to, what is the goal of this item? Are we looking, is this the color palette that we want to stay within? So like I said, it's fun, the creative aspects, but it does come down to being a business.
Yeah.
you
So
know
I'm just curious because
So this is one
you're
of.
my first designer I've met that
Let's
works.
see.
Like,
This
so
is
from
one
your
of my
drawing,
books.
would you do that at work? Like, or was that like a home thing? You'd come in with your drawings, or you guys would all sit to work? Okay, I need to move your name so I can see it better.
So there's one.
Yeah.
So you find like a theme, So this was, like if you see the rest, see my apartment. This is very me, Like I like ruffles. I
Yeah.
like ruffles.
Very
I like frilly
feminine.
things. Yeah, feminine,
Yes.
light pastels, and you see that there is a theme,
Yeah.
So that's
Oh yeah, I love the over shoulder.
and then
The rompers. You're
yeah.
wearing a romper. Oh my gosh, I love all of these. Now, did any of these, like, what would be the process from drawing and how long before it was actually on the runway or
So
like purchase? Or
what
what was that
makes it
process like?
what makes you get to the runway. By the time something makes it to the runway, it's such a process.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the aspects of working for a designer, um, and this is like when I interned early on, I literally came in first day and I'm just like, hand me a pencil, let's get to work. I'm ready to
Yeah.
design and create. And they're like, no, you're gonna do 30 flats and specs today, and I'm literally just drawing like flats.
What are flats? I don't know that. You got to break it
Um,
down. I've only been on the modeling side.
oh, okay. So let me see.
Yeah.
I'll show you a flat. So a
Okay.
flat is literally, as it sounds, an item laying down,
Okay.
and specs the measurements.
Okay.
And actually, I have a good flats and specs book.
I'm thinking like pattern almost, but without, but no.
Yeah.
Something
Not
different.
as,
See, my
even
mom is
again,
so
not as
embarrassed right now.
glamorous. So this
Oh.
is so actually this is one of my professors made this. Professor Kennedy, yeah.
Oh, so that's great. So it tells you all the different. So like the pussy collar that
Yep.
everybody was talking
The
about.
pussy
Yeah,
bow Melania.
pussy. But yeah,
Yep.
I was like, I had no idea that's what that was called until then. So I need to get one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so when a piece goes into production, this is
I like the multi straps.
necessity, but it is different with higher end designers.
Okay.
It's
Right.
definitely different. The process is different. But like I said, that process is even still it's extraordinarily collaborative.
Okay.
So it's not always this is the sketch. This is exactly what the item is going to look like. That happens on occasion.
Okay. Wow.
You know, so many times it may be this is the spec, and once it goes into design, these are the pieces that fall into it, and then it may be sketched again after it's created.
Okay. Well, I have some
Yeah.
questions and somewhere. It's already 6:57. I don't know why fashion time is so much faster than any other time,
I
but
love you. Fashion time. We are on fashion time,
what?
everyone. We're not on normal time here.
Not at all. So
We're on
Olivia is
fashion
asking,
time.
what do you think of are the upcoming fashion trends?
What are upcoming fashion trends? One of them, and I hope that this stays relevant, is we in a environment of grunge, romance and glamour actually was able to peek its little head out. So you know, some of my favorites, like I have on Zimmerman, was able to emerge, as you know, as well as like self-portrait, um, and Roxanda, designers such as that. So I think it's going to be a merge, you know, more of a collaboration of grunge and romance, however that works. But anything that gets the grunge thing out makes me happy. You know, I like glamour.
Yeah.
So so the Kanye West, Balenciaga, they look like as if they've been shopping in my grandfather's work closet thing.
Right.
I'm ready for that to go away.
Okay.
So I do hope the trend of romance continues, because I do, you know, you see women embracing makeup a bit more than they have in the past, and femininity is seems to be making a return. And when I say femininity, you know, it could be they,
Right.
or you know,
Gender fluid in that sense, right? As long, yeah.
totally gender fluid.
Mhm.
But I personally hope that femininity reemerges. And I like, you know, I, not to say I'm classist or anything of that nature, but um, when I buy a flannel to sleep in,
Mhm.
I don't think it needs to be, you know, $1,000. I'm fine with my flannel being what it looks like. And a lot of designers got away with that the last few seasons. And I think it really is a mockery to designer fashion. And when you look at, you know, the history of revered designers such as Cristobal Balenciaga, this their collections are not reminiscent of what he worked so hard for. And I hope that the designers of the future recognize that.
Okay. What is it that you like to create most is also brought up by Olivia.
Create most. Narrow it down a little bit.
Clothing wise, or do you like drawing, art? Like, what do you think you want to do as far as future, even then?
Future.
Yeah.
I, you know, I would. I'd still like to have my own collection. It's, you know, it's not um something that it's not an immediate thing for me, but I would at some point in my life like to have my own collection. And if anything, the reason for that would be to kind of knock the pessimism within my spirit out, solely because I know that industry, and I know how difficult it can be. And if I do a designer collection, I don't want it to be Hope-Noelle for Target at any point. I'm sorry.
That's
Sorry, I
okay.
love Target. I love Target, but I don't want my collection to be in Target. I'm
No,
sorry.
I get it, because we had the conversation about fast fashion and how it's so bad for the
It's
environment as
difficult.
well, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And a
And
lot
so
of,
I get
you
that.
know, a lot of phenomenal designers, you know, are taking licensing deals that
Like
really
Christian,
go
yeah.
against, yeah, go against their labels, solely because, you know, they like eating. I like
It makes a
food.
difference.
I
Makes a
like that
difference.
I like food. I like eating on occasion at least
Yeah.
once a week.
Like I got a full on mortgage, so I get it. No, and I was curious also, I would be an idiot not to bring this up because so much is going on
Sure.
and there's the whole pull up or shut up going on in the cosmetic industry. And I want to hear what your thoughts are with the fashion industry because there, even since yesterday, there's been so much changes where there's going to be their first black editor for Harper Bazaar was just announced. So, and the guest I had Monday, she was the only black person that worked there when she was there for the 7 years, besides someone in accounts receivable. And since you worked at Oscar de la Renta and you worked at Jill Stuart, what do you think fashion could do to make sure that this isn't just a hashtag, it isn't just a black square that they're posting, that
Tap,
they really are making differences?
tap,
What?
tap,
What does that mean?
tap your resources.
Mm.
There is so much talent untapped because they've solely they're looked over, you know, so much potential, untapped potential solely because they were looked over,
Yeah.
you
They're
know.
only looking within their own network as opposed to extending it out.
Yeah.
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 Because, I mean, did you ever see recruiters even come down to Spelman from any fashion brands? Probably not. I know I didn't at my school. Yeah, no. And it's hard to become something you can't see or you don't have that opportunity to reach out to
This is the
someone.
thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I
Okay.
recognize the value of HBCUs.
Mhm.
I have my views about HBCUs are not linear. They're
Yeah. Yeah. No, I went to HBCU. I mean, I transferred several times and finally finished at HBCU. So I got experience everywhere, but I definitely see the benefits of HBCU and I also see the faults with it.
right. Right. So certain things yeah, those but
Can't
yeah.
speak ill of it. Yeah.
Yes and no. I didn't see that window of opportunity, I'll be honest, until I went to FIT. You know, literally every Friday, you go into the auditorium, and Ralph Lauren's there. Or some other graduate of FIT is. Was it Ralph Lauren? Who took it? No. See, I don't want to get in trouble.
You're like,
But
I get it. I'm
like
bad
that.
with names. So I'm always like,
It's
I don't
just
remember where I met them.
it's just so
Yeah.
many. So yeah, it's not due to lack of talent.
Right.
Lack of talent has nothing whatsoever to do
I mean,
with this disparity gap in hiring. That is, that's just much deeper. To throw out, the word systemic. It is what it is, but it's not due to lack of talent at all. But
do
I
you
do
think?
think a lot of things have to do with our psychologies as well, and a sense of esteem that we may or may not have with regard to fortitude to goal fruition.
I have this thought about it where I think with the different celebrities, performers, and so on, stop promoting brands that wouldn't hire you. Simple as that. Like, would they hire someone that looks like you to be a designer, to work to work as
Well,
an
if you're
editor, and
you,
all these other
if you're
things?
you, they would hire you.
Right.
If by the time you're celebrity,
Well, I mean,
um,
looks like you, not you.
oh,
You
looks
know what
like
I
you.
mean? Because they're always like rapping these songs about these different brands, and you can
Something
go in the store
happens.
and they're following you around.
Something
Yeah.
happens with there's a level of narcissism that sets in,
Mhm.
and celebrity affects your empathy, reasoning skills. Empathetical reasoning skills very much. So you feel a little detached once you hit celebrity, unfortunately, sometimes. Um, and you know, and you don't know what's going on in the corporate atmosphere of these companies either. You know, you don't know. I think
Right.
the beauty of now is the fact that you know, we're speaking on this, you know, we're communicating about it, and we're communicating as humans, equals to equals, whereas that wasn't the case before. You know, before we may have communicated as victims to leaders, or uh or you know, we weren't, I don't think the empathy was there in the past. I think something's happened now that America has a greater sense of empathy that we've not had in the past. There's something about George Floyd and us all collectively seeing the life go out of that man's eyes for no reason whatsoever. And I think it resonated with every human. I can't speak for the non-humans, but for the human, it had
Right.
to resonate with you. There is something black in that heart, and nothing's going to help you, Jeffrey
Right.
Dahmer.
Yeah.
He's just
No
like,
kidding.
you know, somewhere like he just looks like dinner, you know.
Yeah,
So
that part. And yeah, and
everyone
somebody was
else,
saying like that was a honey move or something. I was like, oh my gosh. I can't, I don't know about
I couldn't
hunters. That's a
deal.
different life. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
right. On a happier note, I want to make sure everyone knows where they can follow you and keep in touch with you. So, where's the best place they
Hello.
can keep up with you? I'm
They
going to post as
can.
well.
I'm like so here. What's my address? No, I'm kidding. Just come on by. I am on Instagram at Hope-Noelle 730. More vocal, but less vocal at HauteTrader Instagram. And for Twitter, we're also at HauteTrader and at HauteTrader.com. And if you shoot me an email at HauteNoelle@HauteTrader.com or support@HauteTrader.com or talk to us on the chat box at HauteTrader.com. I'm very interactive. It all gets to me.
Okay. That's
So
awesome.
please reach out.
You're like, this is my business. I'm involved in every facet to make sure I know what's going on with my company. I love that because
Oh
your
yeah,
baby.
24-hour customer support. We don't sleep.
Not okay. Well, I know what that's like being my with doing this show now. I'm like, when do people ever sleep that work other jobs? Because when I'm up, other people are up too. So I was like, well, I guess it's the life of an entrepreneur to
It's
well,
alive, you
it
know.
is
It's
it
like
is a lot.
it's your crying baby, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I think a new mother, your one eye is always open.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100% agree. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today. I
Thank
love
you.
talking fashion with you. I still have like a bazillion more questions, but I'll just have to do it off air. You'll
We'll
have to
talk
come
later.
back. Yes, absolutely. 'Cause I'm just like, now, how do you know what fits best and what, like, I just have so many questions because I've done the fit modeling thing, but for like leggings, nothing fun, like a beautiful
Mhm.
dresses like you were designing. So I was just want to know what it's like inside that world. I think every girl does a little bit, wants to just go behind the cart, and see into the closet and find out how are things made and designed, and especially a beautiful line like Oscar de la Renta. So I'm just so impressed with everything you do. And I appreciate you
Thank
so much
you.
being my guest. And congratulations on starting your
Thank
own business and
you.
everything in fashion. That's amazing.
Thank
So,
you so much, Camille. I
yeah.
appreciate it. You always say the sweetest things. Thank you so much, my dear.
It's from my heart, I promise. All
Oh,
right.
I
Well,
believe
thanks
it.
again. Thanks again for being my guest. I absolutely love you, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. And get some rest.
I know. I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm
I
not going
won't
to do
bring.
that
I
again.
see. I wasn't bringing it up.
Yeah, no. I'm
I
like,
I told you I had a lot of energy for you.
and I don't drink caffeine normally, so the two sodas was a bad idea. But I was
Oh
like,
gosh. Well,
yeah,
get some
lesson
rest
learned.
tonight.
Oh,
Thank
for
you so much,
sure.
Camille.
Oh, no, it was my pleasure. And you have a good rest of your night, and best of luck. Everything's going on. All right. Bye. Fashion. I'm gonna stop singing that David Bowie song because I probably butcher it because I don't have the voice for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed meeting Hope-Noelle Davenport of HauteTrader. She's absolutely amazing. You're going to love, like, you saw some of the fashions she has on there. It's just so many beautiful things. You just have to hope and luck and pray that it's in your shoe range. And if you're a size 9.5 or higher, please join. So I have some shoe options, because I was just like, oh yeah, 34, 36. Get to 41s or 40. I think that's my size. I don't know. Anyway, the rest of the week, we do not stop. It's still more fashion. Tomorrow, I'm having actor, model, Sergio, I'm going to butcher his name, Delavici. He's going to be my guest tomorrow. I cannot wait to talk to him. He's walked several different fashion weeks, whether it's New York, Paris. He's worked them all. And then he was also in this very small movie called John Wick 3. Maybe you heard of it. It was with Keanu Reeves and I don't know, that beautiful woman. Ooh, what's her name? Halle Berry. Just small parts. So he's going to share about that as well. And we're actually going to do an extra little interview with him as well on Friday, Instagram Live. I'll also speak with him. We're going to do like an after show, just having fun, talking on Instagram as well, a little more casual, just to hear what it's really like being an actor and model in New York City. And then Friday, I have pop opera singer from Trinidad, Charisse Mills will be my guest, and she's going to be sharing about her experience as being a singer and a fashionista. You can look her up as well and see all the different things that she's doing, because she has an amazing voice, and it's completely different than a lot of the, everybody sounds different. We're all unique, right? But she's got a really unique sound where she brings pop and opera and blends them together, and really excited to hear from her and talk to her on Friday. So it's an exciting week. And I will say for the most part of the rest of the month, it is going to be mainly musicians, because it is Black Music History Month. So I wanted to make sure that I brought in musicians, because that's one area I've always enjoyed, but I've never really worked in that industry. I worked on a couple of movies where there was a lot of musicians on it, but I've never really worked in the music industry. So I'm very curious about what they're doing, how they're staying connected with fans. What does their future look like after COVID-19 as far as live shows? What are they going to do? Have they been making new music? And what can we expect differently? And with all the different social unrest that's going around, if that's inspiring new songs. Like, I'm just wondering, because artists sometimes in the worst of times can really get inspired to create something that distracts people from the pain and the hurt. I mean, that's pretty much why I came up with my show, because I knew that I would need something to keep me busy that I enjoyed. Otherwise, every day I would just kind of rabbit hole myself into worried about, will I catch COVID-19 or germs, or just letting it overwhelm me over just like she was saying about the dialogue in your head. And now with the stuff going on with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, like, it's just so important that we find outlets that still inspire us for a better future. And I think artists are really good at doing that, and painting or sharing stories musically or content wise, whatever way that they paint with that brush, and just really can inspire us to be inspired about the future. And fashion is one of those things that I love talking about, because when you look at fashion, it kind of inspires what you want to aspire to, what you want to dress like, how you want to look like. And once you feel that way internally, it can really change how you feel like. And I really love fashion. So this has just been amazing. And I can't wait for you guys to meet the rest of my guests, because it's going to be a lot of fun. And I have some serious guests next week as well. I'll have more details posted to my Facebook and Instagram. So just make sure you follow, share, subscribe. And for your friends that aren't on Facebook, they can watch my YouTube channel, because I just post everything. The lives from here, I post it directly to there. Sometimes I edit out if there's any tech issues, but for the most part, I just go straight to theirs to make it easier, because, again, I'm not a tech genius. So, and the eternal dialogue on that is just facts. It's not even me discounting what I do. It's not my thing. So thank you so much for watching. I look forward to my guest tomorrow, and make sure you send in questions if you have any, because I'll definitely ask them for you. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you tomorrow.